Hi, my name is Debbie Cabooses of Delta Lotus Yoga. Today we're going to do a hip opening sequence. Many of my students have asked me to do this one, so here it is. I just want to talk just a minute or two on what do we mean when we say our hips are tight or, oh, my hips aren't open. Well, it can mean very many different things for different people because the hip area is very complex. It involves muscles throughout the whole pelvis and down into the legs. So when I talk about hip movement, this is flexion. If I pull my leg behind me, that is extension. And then I have rotation both inward or outward. So there's a lot going on there. And some of us are tight in one direction and not others. Although primarily we see that people are tight with the rotation here, outward, and then flexion forward. There's you may be tight because of your lifestyle. A lot of sitting, for example, certain sports can tighten that area up. Old injuries, or even some people are just born with tighter or looser hip sockets. So the top of the femur goes into the hip socket. And if this is very tight, no matter how much you stretch things, you may not have the flexibility other people have because you may have a bone on bone situation going. So there's a lot of variation there. Mostly we're talking about, hey, my legs don't go out. Does this look familiar? Or I can't forward fold. So we're going to be working on all the different variations of opening our hips up. And let's get started. But first, I want to show the props I have today. Now, I'm sitting on a cushion. You could sit on a couple folded blankets or pillows. Cushions are better, or blankets, something sturdier. I've got a couple blocks. If you don't have blocks, you could use books or anything else that kind of looks like this. And finally, I have a strap, and this is a long yoga strap, 10 feet. But we don't need all of those feet today. You could use a bathrobe tie or even just a rope, okay? Don't really recommend a stretchy band because we want some firmness there. So anyway, I'm going to show an alternative too for that if you don't have anything comparable to a strap. So I want to, before we come down, the reason I'm talking about sitting on blankets or a bolster is because if you are tight back here, in here, what tends to happen is if I just sat on the floor, I might look like this. And when this happens, when I'm that tight in the hips, I tend to round here in the lower back instead of having a long lower back. So if I give myself some elevation, I can help with those kind of issues, and I can really start to open instead of just fall all over myself. We actually are going to start by laying down with our knees bent and our feet on the floor. So come on down, and there we go. Move some stuff out of the way. Just to start to warm up that area, I'm going to pull my knees into my chest. My hands could go behind my knee creases, and I'm just going to rock side to side to release that area. So we're stretching. We're also stretching and releasing a lot in the lower back. And when we're talking about the hips, we're talking about that area also. So we're going to come to a stop now, and keeping your feet in the air, hands to the knees or behind the knee creases. We're going to row the boat. So I'm going to pull my knees in towards my chest, and then I'm going to roll them down and away. So I'm starting to move the thigh bones in the hip sockets and also actuate the lower back, the vertebrae of the lower back. So there we go. So when I move, I'm going to start to lubricate that area. And then let's turn in the opposite direction. So just some things to start to warm it up. Warm them up. Yeah, and then we'll bring our feet to the ground. Take your feet wide to the edge of your mat, your arms in a T. If your palm can turn up, that's great. If your palm turns down, that's okay too. And as we inhale, we'll take both knees to the right. And as you exhale, come to the middle.
Inhale to the other side and exhale, come to the middle. So moving on your breath, starting to warm up the abductors, the hip rotators, among the hip extenders and flexors. So this one's really nice for all of it. Okay, third, come to stop. Take your feet back under your, that's falling out. Okay, take your feet back under your knees, and we'll move into eye of the needle pose, which is probably one of the best hip openers that you will do. And it also opens that sideways muscle in your buttocks called the piriformis that's critical for lateral stability in your body when you're standing. So I'm going to pick up my right foot and put my right ankle bone on my left thigh. And I want to flex this foot. If I don't flex this foot, I could get some strain in the inner knee. From there, we're going to take our hands, the palms of our hands, right down near the hip creases and gently push. So here I am starting to open up that right side. And the left is used for stabilization, because if I don't put the left hand, I tend to scrunch up my sideways. So we're going to do that. Stay a little bit and breathe. So a word about pain. We don't want to have any pain here. We may feel some stretching, but no sharp pains and no numbness ever, ever. So listen to your body. Back off if you need to. And just taking a couple nice deep breaths here. Letting go with any holding that you feel going on down there in the pelvis. So in this full pose, we're going to lift this left leg off the ground, keeping the right leg where it is. Take my right hand between my legs and lift. Now, if you're just that tight in the hips, you could just lift your heel instead. If you can't get your hands behind, you could hold on to your pants, or you could take that belt or strap and put it here too. So here we are in what's called eye of the needle pose. So flexing this top foot, relaxing the bottom leg, pulling in, and then checking in at the back of the pelvis, making sure you're not tilting to the right, to the side. So equal weight on both sides of the back of the pelvis. So you may feel this a lot in the inner thigh. You might feel this across here. You might feel this down the outer hamstrings. It could be any of those numbers. And I want to try and bring at least my inner shoulder blades down to the ground. So I don't want to be hunching up like this. Okay, we're going to bring this foot back down to the ground and then this one. So before we go to the other side, you can even check in and see if you feel any difference warmth, energy-wise in these two hips before we start the other side. So now we're going to lift the left leg, put that left ankle on the right thigh, flex the foot, take the heels of the hands right down near the hip creases and gently push away, breathing as you go. Notice if you're holding your breath. Okay, we're going to bring that foot back down, check in, see how the hips feel in comparison to each other. And next up, we are going to actually be using our strap or your bathrobe tie or whatever it happens to do you happen to have. And it's called big toe hold. And this one's the middle one, so it's called number one. So I bring my knee into my chest and take the strap onto the arch of my foot and then straighten my leg. Now, you could just hold your hands like this if you don't have a strap. Now, notice my shoulders are lifting. I want to drop my shoulder blades into the ground. And you may be comfortable with your arms up, elbows straight, or you may like it more with your hands down to your side. You pick. But we want that straight leg, even if your leg is out in front of you, because the straight leg allows us to stretch the hamstrings, right? So remember, your hips are not islands unto themselves. You have lots of things going on, and hamstrings may well be one of them. Okay, so we're going to stay here. We like to stay a while so that we really can get the connective tissue to stretch. And then slowly straighten your other leg to the ground, flexing both feet, pushing both big toe mounds, that's the ball of the foot behind the big toe, away from you. Straight legs, both legs are straight, wherever you are. And sometimes when you take the other leg down, you might have to let this one go a little away. And even though you're holding on to the strap, you don't really have to have a death grip with your hands. So here we are, Supta Padangusthasana number 1, big toe hold number 1, and we're using the strap to assist us in this. So we're opening up the hamstrings, opening up the whole back of the leg. So next up, we're going to move into Supta Padangusthasana 2. So I'm taking both sides of the strap into my right hand. The right leg is up. Take my left arm out in a T position. I'm going to stretch that left leg away from me, really engage the left side of the body, really reach the left hand away from me. And as I exhale, I'm going to take my leg over to the right. And then I'm going to take my elbow to the ground, line my elbow up with my shoulder, and turn my palm up to the ceiling to help support this pose. So a lot of people think I can do this. Well, that's not really the point. We want to have this strength in opening the inner thigh and the hamstring. So if you feel like you need to do more, rather than take the foot too low, which will lift up the other hip, bring the foot closer to your head. Okay. There. Okay, so stay here breathing for about another 30 seconds if you can. Keeping that left hip down. You can even take your left hand down to the hip if you really want to help hold it down. Another breath, and then we'll come back to the middle. Now we're going to go right into number 3, which is a twist. So I'm going to take my left hand onto the strap, reaching up, my right arm out in a T, and as I exhale, I'm going to go over to the left. So I just want to keep both shoulders down. There. Right. Both knees straight, both shoulders down. As I turn, notice my foot and my leg turns. I'm not going to try and hold that foot up towards the ceiling. That would not be very comfortable. So for my head here, I can either look to the ceiling, look away, or look towards that up foot. And I want to keep this right arm really out strong. And if I'm having a trouble keeping that shoulder down, I either pull my leg back towards me or I draw my right elbow down towards my waist, and that will help keep my shoulder down. So here we are, stretching the outer hip, stretching the IT band, and the piriformis. So there's a lot going on here. Come back to the middle, bend your other leg, release. Okay. So all of that on the other side, but first let's straighten our legs down. And can you feel that your right leg feels longer than your left? It's really quite interesting. It's that your hip is so open. So bending the knees, let's start. All those steps on the other side, bring the left knee into the chest, put the strap onto the arch of the foot, lift up, drop the shoulder blades into the ground, and then you could slide the arms down if you want to. I prefer to have my arms up, but you can do whichever you want. So if you're holding on, you could just be holding on here, but let's get the legs straight. I'm breathing in and releasing as you breathe out. And then we'll straighten that leg down, activate both legs. Opening the hamstrings, opening the calf, the Achilles tendon, all of that. This is also very, very good for anybody with plantar fasciitis. Anything from the waist down in the back can cause that pull on the plantar fascia back by the heel. So this is really good. So left hand comes onto the strap, right arm goes out in the T. Exhale your leg over to the left, draw that elbow down to the ground, line the elbow up with your shoulder, turn your palm to the ceiling so your arm ends up in a right angle. And then that helps support it. So this hip is staying down, not lifting up, staying down. You can even put your hand there if you really want to, but it helps to push your hand away from you and your foot away from you on the right side to keep stability in that core. So breathing into this. Let's take 4 more breaths. Bring your hand back up to the middle. Switch the hand on the strap so it's a left leg, right hand. As you exhale, over to your right. And the same right angle in line with the shoulder here. You can see more of my palm pointing up to the ceiling here, helping support. So I've rolled over onto that foot, come up on the hip. Don't get this foot below your hip. You could bring the foot more towards your head. So chin can point to the ceiling, away from the foot or towards the foot. Just going to take 4 more breaths here. Feel that piriformis across the buttocks open up. And 1 more breath. Here we go. Inhale to the middle, bend that other leg. This. Okay, so you can straighten both legs down and see if they're the same length as each other now, which is always fun to do. And then bend your knees, roll to the right, push your left hand into the ground, and come on up to sit. So now we're going to sit on your blankets or sit on your, like a cushion. So I'm going to get the blankets this time since I already showed you the cushion. So when you fold a blanket, and these are, this one's wool on the bottom. This is a Mexican yoga blanket. That's what they're called. When you fold a blanket, this is called, it's kind of funny, this is called the standard fold. So I'm going 1 more, I'm making kind of a squarish here. And where the fold here is, has more support than the other side. So I want to have the fold away towards my feet. So I'm going to come sit on it and see how it is with my legs crossed. Now, if you have like bad knees, for example, and you can't do this, then you could take a leg out to the side. And if you take your leg out to the side, you could even say you're a hyperextender, you could put a block under your knee to help with that. But if we can, we're going to cross our legs, 1 leg in front of the other. And we'll just start with a really basic move called hip circles that is going to give us some more ease in the hips. You can do this at your desk at work too. It's really a great one. So as I inhale, I'm just going to roll. So what I'm doing is I'm moving my torso and my hips over my stationary thigh bones. It's the opposite of what we did when we were working with laying down and rowing the boat. So I'm leaning back a little and to the side and forward. Notice as I do this, I'm not pulling with my head, right? I'm keeping my head in a neutral position. And then change the direction. We tend to get so uneven in life, and we have our favorite direction to go, which just makes us more uneven.
right? So, okay. So when we're talking about the hips and this whole area, we're talking about the waist also. So we're talking also about these quadratus lumborums here, posture muscles. They're called the love handles. And we want to open that area up too. So what we're going to do is we can take our blocks, our books, if you need them. Some people have longer arms, but if you need them, on either side of us. And keeping your left hand on the block, inhale and bring your right arm up and over, palms facing the floor now. And as you exhale, come back. And then to the other side. So opening the side body up, moving with your breath, exhaling over, I should say inhaling over, and exhaling back to the middle. There you go. We'll do a couple more here. Start on the other side. So we're finishing on this side. And then we're going to take our legs out in front of us, out wide. And you can have blocks here. Let's do this. Pick up your left leg and bend the knee and bring your left foot across. Now I have my left thigh is supported by the blanket too, which feels really nice. So this pose is a variation of Janu sirsasana. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a block inside this calf and outside this thigh. So just watch it first. So I'm going to inhale over just like we did before, and then I'm going to turn my body on the inhale towards this leg. Inhale, and then as I exhale, I'm going to bring my hand here and bring my arm up and over this side. Okay, so I'm going to show that one more. So as I inhale, I'm coming up and then turning my body over, stretching this arm long. And as I exhale, I'll bring my hand over here and bringing this one up over here. Okay, so we're going to try it together. Set yourself up. Blocks are there. You can actually, you can have your hands on your thighs to start. So here we go. Inhale, up and over, turn the torso. Exhale, other side. Inhale, up and over, turn the torso, stretch, and exhale, other side. We're going to do 3 more. Here we go. Turning that torso, stretching that body long on the sideways. This is the last one. And down we come. Excellent, excellent. And now, who knew, but we are switching legs. Okay, so I've got this one inside and this one outside. Here we go. Inhale, up and over. Exhale to the side. 4 more. Inhale, up and over. And exhale to the side. Turning that torso. And we're keeping it kind of straight forward on this other side. So really just opening up the side of the ribs. We're going to do 2 more. So 1.5 more now. Oops, 2 more here. Oh yeah, so sometimes I lose count. Okay, and this last one. And there you go. Nice. And then we're going to bring the soles of the feet together. It's called bound angle pose. So if you need to have blocks under your knees, you can do that. Okay. The closer your feet come to your pelvis, the more opening there is. So how you know if you have open hip, tight hips is usually you might be like this. You may even feel your back start to around, and if so, pull the knees away from you a little. And if you have those really tight, physically tight hip sockets, you may never get your legs open this much, no matter how much you practice. But really, it's for you to feel better, not to do some crazy yoga pose just because somebody else can, right? So let's take our hands back behind us. If you're not using the blocks, you can put your hands on the blocks behind you. I'm going to turn sideways so you can see this. So here I am with my soles of my feet together. I have the blocks behind me. So step one, I'm just going to arch and lift my back. And step two, I'm going to bring my hands forward wherever they go and fold forward. Okay? So let's inhale, arch the back. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, arch the back. Shoulder blades down the back. Exhale, fold forward. Notice I'm not rounding my back as I come forward. Inhaling and exhaling. Inhaling and exhaling. Let's do two more. This is the last one. And okay, nice. Why don't you just stretch yourself, legs out in front of you. Stretch your legs out for a minute. And you can wiggle your thighs a little. Maybe things are starting to get warm. We are going to do one more big opener before we check in and see how we did. So the last one is pigeon pose, and we want to do it in a supported way. So I'm gonna show this with whatever you happen to have to support you. So in pigeon pose, there's many ways to come into it, but we're just going to make our life easy and bring this knee out to the side, and I'm going to stretch back. So and I want that back foot straight behind me. If this buttocks is not on the ground, or even if it is, you're going to put a blanket or a block under it so that your hips are level with each other. So in pigeon pose, if you take the knee outside the shoulder, you tend to have less knee issues. So when you get in this, some people are comfortable down or way down. Some people are more comfortable up. And I want you to decide for yourself which one you like. But before we go there, I'm going to talk a little bit about how you avoid any kind of issues in the knee. So if you have this, when my leg goes across, if I feel any stress here, especially in the inner knee, sometimes it's enough to just have a tiny little spacer. And I'm using the strap. You could use a washcloth. I'm going to push it into my knee crease, and it gives me a little more space in the knee to open and to cause less friction or pain. There is another way to do this if you have trouble with that, the knee down on the ground, which is actually very nice also. So I lift my leg, take the knee to the side, hold on to it, and bring my leg down. This is upside down pigeon. So either one you want to do. Let's get started with the right side. So how about you have your blanket, your support, your block, whatever you're using nearby. I'll use the block this time. Okay, take the right knee outside, slide back. Put your block under only the right side. The knees out. Maybe you put a strap in there. Decide if you want to lay down or lift up. And then we're going to stay, because hip openers like this one is a great hip opener and really great for your sacrum also. Nice stretch across the sacrum. Take some time. They take some time. I want to think about both sides of my pelvis being level with each other. I don't want to be lifting up like this. If I'm lifting up like this, I might need to put an extra something here, okay? So I want this levelness of the back of the pelvis, both sides to be equal and level with each other, which means the front of the hips are both pointing forward. the same amount. So not this, this. Yeah, so find your spot, just breathe into it. We're going to stay about another 30 seconds. And if you are up on your hands, push your fingertips into the ground, draw your shoulder blades down your back. So the advantage of going up, if it's comfortable for you, is that it opens on that straight leg side, it opens up the hip. In addition to all the other hip opener we have going on this side. It will open up the front of the hip. Just focusing on a nice smooth breath. Now to come out of this, if you're down, come up. You want to take that, whatever you have under that buttocks down and roll onto that side. And reach behind you to your knee and bring that leg around. And it might not come all the way around. If it's on this side of the knee, that's okay. And just give yourself a little hug. Just a little bit of a release. And now we're going to do the other side. So we basically start it from all fours. Bring the left knee outside the left shoulder. Draw yourself back. Support your left buttocks, only your left buttocks. And decide whether you're going to stay up or down. So here's a nice in between, which is I'm on my forearms. So levelize the back of that pelvis. Yeah. Pigeon pose is an amazing pose. Amazing pose for people that have sciatica too, by the way. So open, open, open those hips up. We'll stay for another 30 seconds or so. So if you can stay longer, that is great. So we're looking at trying to stay for at least a minute. Let's take 4 more breaths. Breathing in and breathing out. Remember, you can stay high or low. Breathing in or breathing out. Notice that straight leg, the foot is right behind me and I'm right on the top of that foot. If I do get a cramp, I can tuck that toe under until the cramp goes away. Because sometimes you get cramps when your foot is pointed so much. Okay, so here we are. Take the block out, roll onto that left hip, pick up the right leg, bring it over or here or over and just give it a little squeeze. Nice long spine. Release, release, release. Okay, and do that. Let's come sit back on our blankets. Cross the other leg in front. Let's take the soles of the feet together. See if you feel any difference here. And close your eyes and just start to work your way into your breath. We're crossing the other leg in front. And now we're just about done, but I wanted to say just a couple things before we finish. One is, if you don't have time for this whole series, just do part. You know, you don't have to do everything. And the other is that it's cumulative. Say you did 5 minutes a day, within a couple of weeks, you're going to notice more openness. And as far as openness goes, I want you guys to check it out when you get up and start to walk around after this, and just see how much ease there is in walking. The channel Delta Lotus Yoga Wellness, and you can also check out my website. Thank you. Goodbye.